Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Golden Frequency Radio, Episode 3, The Energy Body. I am Beth Ann Carr, Intuitive Quantum Healer, and your host, here with my friend, teacher, and co-host, Eric Rains. Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Eric is the alchemical engineer behind UnleashingNaturalHumanity.com and the etheric parasite and implant removal protocol that we both utilize in sessions with our clients. More information about this work can be found at UnleashingNaturalHumanity.com, as well as the Facebook page Unleashing Natural Humanity. I would like to extend a special thank you to Ariadne Sassafras of SassMavenDigitalMedia.com for making this show possible with her digital expertise, as well as a thank you to Dylan Ross for moderating our chat room this evening. Also, a great big thank you to our audience, those listening live tonight and those listening later to the archived recording. Let's all take a moment together now to set our intention for tonight's show as being in alignment with the highest good for all, providing space for resonant information, validation, and support for anyone who has found their way to this broadcast. Tonight's show is all about energy. We will be discussing the energy meridians in the body, the flow of chi, the aura, and the chakra system, especially the organic evolution from the 7 major chakras towards a more integrated system. As a special treat, Eric will be walking us through a meditation to assist this integration. We will also be opening the phone lines in the last 45 minutes of this show tonight, as we know that there have been many questions around the topic of chakra integration, sometimes referred to as chakra removal. I would like to begin this discussion with defining some of the terms that we will be discussing tonight for the purpose of clarity and also for those joining us who are new to this information. Everything in creation is made up of electromagnetic energy vibrating at different frequencies that correspond to sound, light, and color. The existence of electromagnetic fields around every object is known as an aura. The Chinese refer to this electromagnetic energy as qi, the vital life force energy of the universe present within every living thing. The Polynesians call it mana, the Hindu call it prana, the Amerindians orenda, and the ancient Germans ode or odd. Not sure if I've pronounced that correctly. There are 12 major energy meridians in the body. In the same way that arteries carry blood, the body's meridians carry vital life force energy. Meridians are our body's energy bloodstream. They govern vitality and balance, remove energy blockages, stagnations, and a dust metabolism, as well as many other things. The flow of qi along meridians is as physically critical as the flow of blood. Our life and health depend on both. There are certain places along the meridians where energy pools, making the qi more accessible there than elsewhere. These energy hotspots are commonly referred to as acupuncture or acupressure points. And at these specific points, energy can be manipulated, either increasing or decreasing the flow. So, Eric, one of your areas of expertise is moving energy blocks along the meridians. Can you talk a little bit about this work to start us off?
Definitely. So the major meridians in the body, well, there's actually 2 that are the central governing vessel and the conception vessel meridians. And those flow up the spine and down the front of the body. And those are called the Sea of Yin and the Sea of Yang. And those are pretty much where all the major meridians in the body hook into, and that's where they get the energy flow from. Blockage inside of one of these can be pretty detrimental to the actual organ it flows through, because each of the 12 major meridians align with the major organs inside the body, such as like the heart, the lungs, pericardium. There's one called the triple heater, which is actually a 3-chambered process going up the chest. You got one in the chest, one in the solar plexus, and one in the lower abdomen. We've got the large intestine, small intestine, liver, gallbladder, urinary bladder, kidneys, stomach, spleen, so on and so forth. And the flow of energy, if it gets blocked off inside of one of these, it can actually adversely affect the organ itself. The organs don't just need blood and lymphatic flow, they need energy flow as well. And so if there's something that's actually blocking off the area to it, it can really adversely affect it. And so you'll end up with all kinds of different symptoms, like say your liver isn't functioning correctly, and there's nothing that they can find with Western medicine to say that you have an unhealthy liver, and yet you can't detoxify yourself from things that you eat, things that you breathe, and so on and so forth. It's probably a blockage in the energy meridian itself. And so these blockages, they're some of them are artificial, some of them are actually natural. And like artificial ones would be like parasites, entities, and stuff like that, actually capping off flow and blocking that. But the natural ones, they can arise from injury, they can arise from emotional trauma. All kinds of different things can actually block up the meridians like that.
Okay. Let's see. I just thought of a question, and then it just went out of my brain. Can you talk a little bit also about how the flow of energy along these meridians does correspond also to the flow of the lymphatic flow as well?
Okay, so the lymphatic system is our detoxifier. It's our immune system. It brings in good nutrients, and it takes out bad nutrients out of the body. And it's pretty much the most important system of flow inside the body. Like people think it's the blood. Western medicine thinks it's the blood, and it's really not. That's only about 25% of the actual flow that we've got inside of us. Lymphatic flow itself, like the actual substance lymph, it's blood plasma. It crosses a barrier inside the body from the vascular system into the lymphatic system. And once it crosses over, it becomes the lymph right there. And it corresponds with most of the energy flow inside the body. So you've got most of the meridians in the upper chest, they end in the arms or inside the fingers, and most of the meridians inside the lower abdomen actually hook into the central channels and go down into the legs and the feet and the toes. And so what happens is when you look at the actual flow of the lymphatics inside the body, a lot of them cross along these lines where the meridians go. And there's, with the different acupuncture or acupressure points, you can actually find lymph nodes and things along those lines in the endocrine system, commonly known as the lymphatic system. And it's really intertwined. And so if you have a blockage in your lymphatics, oftentimes you'll have an energy blockage in the same area. And, they go hand in hand. You know, we're an energy body, we're a physical body, and this is kind of the way that these things work that way.
Mm-hmm. It's a crossover. So the misconception, about blood being the more important fluid flowing in the body, I would imagine that has led to really probably some widespread stagnation. I think do you think it's safe to say that probably most people have some sort of pathology in the endocrine system, in the flow of the lymph?
Oh yeah. In my massage business, one of the things there's three things that I go after. I get the musculature to relax, and then if I can't get the tension to leave, then I'll go after the lymphatics, and I'll find where that area is, and then I'll go down the line from that and find a blockage there, and I'll release that, and then all of a sudden the tension starts leaving. If that doesn't work, then I'll actually go after the energy. So it's a three-step process that we do, and I think that the musculature is more involved with the actual blood flow itself, and so I'm kind of looking at the blood, the lymph, and then the energy. They're all interrelated, and they work with each other, but they're separate from each other. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the major things that people just don't even really understand, we have the food pyramid that tells us that we need to stay away from fats and we need to eat more like carbs and things like grains and things like that. And that's just so completely backwards from what I'm actually found with like hands-on experience and figuring out the ways to unlock the body. And, when we eat gluten, sugar, dairy, things along those lines, it completely and totally clogs up the lymphatic system and causes inflammation in the body. And not being able to flow, that causes such stagnation that things literally start to go rotten inside the body. So, yeah, just by thinking of only the blood flow as the important thing, it is a huge disconnect in the way that our bodies are actually supposed to be operating.
Mm. It actually sounds to me like it's potentially, deliberate misinformation, or, leading people down a path that prevents them from really recognizing that when you're focusing on being holistically healthy, that you have to take into account the endocrine system as being really vitally important. So you've covered some foods, or the aspect of how food affects the endocrine system and the flow of lymph. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about some either physical or really some simple energetic ways to support that system, or to even for someone who just has not paid any attention to their endocrine system, some ways that they can start to be self-aware or supportive of that.
Definitely. So one of the major symptoms of lack of lymphatic flow is tension and pain in the body. If you have, so the way that the lymphatic system works is you have a bunch of nodes along pathways. And if one of these nodes or these nexuses are clogged up, then everything further up, it's still getting fed lymphatic fluid, but it has no place to go. So it's literally like swelling up a balloon. So if you have a lot of pain or a lot of tension inside your body, those specific areas, if you go down the line from the lymphatic system and find where the major nexuses are and you push into those, most of the times they'll be real sore, painful to the touch, but it's not something that you would actually recognize. Like we all have kind of like, tension in our shoulders, tension in our low back, tension in the neck and stuff like that. But we don't feel like, say, for instance, like right behind the collarbone, that's the subclavian artery. That's where a lot of our blood and our lymphatics actually flow down from the neck. If you push into there, you'll find it's tender, it's tight, and you'll feel like these little bumps inside of it, and those are swollen lymphatics. If you press into your armpit, like right straight back to where the shoulder blade is, that whole mass of tissue right there in the axilla, it's a major nexus of lymphatic nodes that actually, when those get clogged up, it can cause all kinds of tension in the shoulders, tension in the neck. And, things along those lines, that's one of the major things that you'll actually notice. But when you start getting really clogged up, like the spleen is a major lymphatic organ, and say, for instance, that your diet isn't so healthy and that starts to get clogged up right there, you're going to end up having all kinds of dysfunction with the way that you digest food, with the way that you actually receive nutrients from your food. You won't be able to get the full nutritional value. You'll end up getting, maybe 10, 15% of it, and so you'll end up having to eat a lot, and the food actually ends up getting stuck inside of you. And so, you've got lymphatic nodes inside the intestinal wall, and you've got going down the sides underneath the ribs into the pelvis and stuff like that. And so you'll just notice a sluggishness, a lethargy, and you'll always, like chronic fatigue syndrome, I've actually been able to help people out quite a bit with that just by getting things moving, because all of a sudden then they have the nutrients that are supposed to be going where they're supposed to be going, and then the toxins from the food that we eat, because let's face it, all of our food is pretty toxic unless you eat completely and totally organic. It can completely and totally reverse your energy levels, and it's things along those lines, just the lack of ability to detoxify. That's one of the major symptoms of lymphatic blockage, and, that's something that almost everybody has. We all notice tension, pain in our bodies. We all notice that we don't have the energy that we want, and, this is one of the major things. And if you have a completely and totally free and clear lymphatic system, it's amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal, the difference that you actually feel in your body, because we've all have that baseline marker of what we feel with the lethargy, and then when you get everything flowing, it's night and day. It really, truly is. It's a powerful thing to understand that the way that the lymphatic systems work. And like you were saying, it's almost like a done on purpose. These food groups, this food pyramid, when it came out, all of a sudden we had all of our major diseases that we notice nowadays skyrocket. They didn't have these back like 100 years ago on the prevalency that we do nowadays. And heart disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, autism, stuff along those lines. And like you hear people talking about like how they can't lose weight no matter what they do with their diet, and they talk about it's a glandular issue. Well, yeah, it is a glandular issue. It's because your lymphatics aren't flowing and detoxifying your body, and so your body can't get rid of this stuff. So it's all the way around. It really truly is. We get hit from every angle, and big pharma, they're $3.5 trillion industry, and they're looking at $3.7 trillion profit next year. And that right there alone shows you that, they know about this stuff. They just don't care. They want you sick. They want you feeling under the weather so that you constantly have to keep coming back.
Right, and unlike the circulatory system, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. We have the heart to pump our blood, but the lymphatic system doesn't actually have that. So, and it's interesting, when I first started paying attention to my lymphatic system, and I did exactly what you talked about. I sort of just went over my body and physically just sort of pushed on some different areas, and I remember noticing specifically. Interestingly, sort of around my knees, I was able to recognize that there were some blocks in lymphatic flow. And another interesting thing that came up for me as you were talking is that you were talking about the endocrine system and digestion. And the first thing that came to me when I heard you talking about that is that, when we think about our digestion, we think about it in terms of digesting food and nutrients, but there's also a component, an energetic component of digestion, which is literally to be able to digest, the experiences of your life. It's digestion and it's processing. It's digestion and processing, and that can be extended sort of multidimensionally beyond just the digestion of food. It's the digestion of emotion. It's the digestion of experiences. And I would imagine that there's a crossover there, so that if you have, we're talking in terms of physical repercussions of a blocked lymphatic system, but it's important to note that crosses over, because as we know, every manifestation of pathology or dis-ease in the body does have an energetic component.
Indeed.
Okay, so I guess we could probably move on from the lymphatic system. Is there a specific place that you'd like to go in the discussion from there?
No, not really. Let's just keep going with the way we've been going.
So we talked early on, or I talked at the beginning in the introduction about defining some terms, and so we've talked about the meridians and the endocrine system component of that, and then I've also sort of talked about the acupuncture and acupressure points. And I know this is something that you have quite a bit of experience with. I'm still learning, to be quite honest, so I'm a bit of a novice in that department. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about these energy hotspots and how...
Definitely. So an acupuncture or an acupressure point is where the energy from the meridians are closer towards the skin, and you can actually tap into the flow right then and there. Some of the major ones are where a bunch of meridians cross. Like we've got a couple on our ankles that, like the spleen, the liver, the gallbladder, they all meet like right on the inside of the ankle, about 3 fingers up from the malleolus, the ankle bone. And like so, you can take your 3 fingers and you can place it right on top of the inside ankle bone right there, and right up the finger is. That's a major nexus from all 3 of those meridians right there. We've got stuff like in the central channels and the governing vessel, conception vessel, all the way down the front of the body and all the way up the spine. Any spot on there is pretty much a major spot that you can tap into, but there's especially a few of them, like right in the third eye area, right on the forehead. We've got one right below the nose on the top of the right in the middle of the lip, right where we have that philtrum, where the little divot is right on the lip. And then right up above the chin on the bottom lip. And then there's a few like right in between the collarbones. And then we've got like the heart space. We've got the solar plexus. We've got the right below the abdomen in the dantian area. And then right on the pubic bone. And pretty much everything that I just said right there, it's got its mirror on the other side going up the body. And that's where major meridians actually hook into the body and or hook into those central channels right there. And you can tap into any one of those that you want through that area. If you're finding like dysfunction or something like that, lack of flow inside, say, your leg or something like that, what you could do is find that spot I was talking about, 3 fingers up from your ankle bone right there, and you can put a finger right there and direct energy flow through that, and you'll actually kind of feel that go up the leg. And you can hook into another spot, like on the central channel, with your other finger, and make almost like a fire hose, like you're feeding water through one side and coming out the other. And you can push blockages through like that. So the acupuncture or acupressure points are spots where you can actually access the energy of the body directly through each of the major meridians. One of the coolest things that I actually learned was something called hara balancing. The hara is what the Chinese called the abdomen. And like the Japanese, they utilized that in like harakiri. They were cutting all their major meridians when they would commit seppuku or ritual suicide in that way. And so that was one of the things that they were actually going after. But this hara balancing is really interesting because all the major meridians pass through the abdomen, and so you can actually put your hand over the abdomen and feel for the imbalance. You'll feel like a pushing type of an energy or almost like a vacuum sucking type of an energy. You know, one is tukyo, one is tujitsu. It's too much or too little. And you can balance those out just straight through the abdomen right there. So those are major acupressure points right there as well. The top of the head, that's a really good one too, because that's where the central channels all line up, and then you have urinary bladder, you've got some offshoots from the gallbladder meridian, all kinds of things that right in the center of the head, that's a really good spot right there. I guess what we would call the crown chakra area, you know, and things along those lines, and just being able to kind of feel around your body and take a look at a diagram to see where all these things intersect. You can really start getting a good feel for the flow inside yourself just by utilizing those, putting fingers on them, and trying to push energy through or see if you could feel flow or things along those lines.
It's interesting that you talk about that in the abdomen and the crown, because intuitively when we are working on ourselves energetically, even if we don't have this brain-based factual knowledge, we sort of naturally and intuitively put our hands over those places. Mm-hmm. And while you were talking, it actually made me think a little bit about the EFT tapping protocol. And I've played around with that, and in fact sort of just intuitively found the points on my body that, just as you were just describing, you can sort of intuitively find where there's dysfunction, and you can either press or tap or bring attention to those places, or, you know, if you're familiar with how to move energy, pushing energy through those places. So, and this is really for everyone out there that's saying, well, all of this is just too technical, and, you know, there's a lot of knowledge here in how to do this. That's not necessarily true, because you and I, you know, we both do energy work, and you have a lot of knowledge about these things. But as you're talking, I can say that intuitively, even though I don't know in my mind exactly necessarily the exact line of flow along the meridians, I can intuitively sort of follow where that energy flows just by quietly tuning in. And it's important to say to everyone out there who's listening to this that absolutely everyone is able to intuitively tune in to the energy flow within yourself. It really just takes just paying attention, just finding a quiet space and paying attention with the intention of just being observant and listening to what your body is trying to communicate to you, because all of those little points of soreness and pain, that's really the body communicating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The body doesn't speak English. It speaks in sensation, emotion, impulse, feeling. You know, like when you're listening to a piece of music that just really touches you and you get chills from head to toe, that's your body. It's like this right here. Pay attention, you know. It doesn't speak English. Right. We have to pay attention to it, you know, and we got to start to learn how to translate it. And pain is definitely one of the ways that the body talks.
Yeah, exactly. Too right. The body is very communicative, and that's something that we've really been sort of taught to ignore or to try to override. And we use these pharmaceutical medications and many other things to sort of try to tame the body as opposed to just listening to it. It really is incredibly intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see. So as we've talked about, this flow of energy is very much physical, but it's also multidimensional and etheric. So speaking from this perspective, we can discuss the etheric aspect of the energy, such as in the chakra system. So chakra is a Sanskrit word that literally means wheel, and these centers were named as such because of the circular shape to the spinning energy centers, which exist in our etheric body, which is the non-material energetic counterpart to our physical body, as we discussed. So traditionally, we have been taught that there are 7 main chakras and also some lesser chakras. And the main chakras are located along the spine, extending out the front and the back of the body, and that each chakra has a number of specific qualities that correspond to the clarification of energy, basically from the base level, or the first chakra, base level self-identity, up to the higher vibration spirit level awareness of being at our crown. So let's talk a little bit about what's problematic about this traditional system and how it's your perception that we're moving out of that, we're evolving out of that.
Okay, so it's my opinion that, now this is my opinion, and it's only through experience, that the 7-layer chakra system, the colored red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, those color systems have actually been put on us to shut us down. So when we look at the full spectrum of light, we recognize that visible light, that whole rainbow color that we see from the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, that's only about 5% of actual light frequency. And so if we cut that into 7 different parts, we're literally in each energetic center limiting ourselves to about 1.2, 1.3% of the actual light spectrum. And just through my own internal work, I've been able to release this colored chakra center, and it really unleashed the actual energy flow that we're all supposed to be able to have. The problem is that we don't grow up with this. We aren't familiar with it. And so, when you start feeling energy and you start moving stuff around and you hear about these systems and you start trying to utilize them, you're reinforcing them and you're making them stronger in their limitation on your body. And so the full spectrum of light is what we need to be really going after. We don't want to be limited into literally 1.2% inside of each area. It's only 5% of visible light that we can actually perceive. We've been shut down pretty hard, and by releasing this and then accepting the full spectrum of light into your body, the magnitude is literally thousands of times stronger than it is on anything that you could do before. I've known about the chakra centers for I don't know how long. I didn't really do anything with them in my teens and early 20s. It was later on when I started really waking up and starting to do the internal work that I really dove deep into this, and I was doing a lot of Reiki, and I just felt really, really powerful with these, and I was able to move energy around quite clearly, and it was very palpable. People could feel it. But when I removed these, it was like a magnitude of literally thousands of times stronger. It's almost a physical sensation. It's not like an energetic flow or a tingle or anything anymore. It's like a literal movement inside my body that I can feel. It's really, really, I can't even describe how it feels in the difference, because, I'm so used to this now that if I were to shut myself down and reacquire these 7 chakra systems, I would just feel like I've got chains all over me and I can't do anything that I'm used to. And natural humanity isn't supposed to have these types of chains on them. We aren't supposed to have these types of blocks. And when you actually release these, what happens is you end up with golden stars inside your body, and it's a 3-part system called the Dantian. You've got the lower abdomen area, that's your lower Dantian. You've got your heart star, and then you've got one inside your head. And pretty much it integrates the chakra centers in the area, like the root in the sacral chakra will become the lower Dantian. The solar plexus, the heart, and the throat will integrate inside the chest, and then the third eye and the crown will integrate inside the head. And they're literally golden stars that shine so bright and are so powerful that it's night and day. Like, I can't even describe the difference. It's beyond words for me, honestly, and that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking from experience, having done energy work on you, connecting with you as an energy healer is a really different experience than it is connecting with most others. So the way that you look energetically really stands out as quite different than it does from others. So can you tell us a little, maybe just walk us through your experience of chakra integration? Because I know for you it was a sort of a really abrupt experience, and I'm sort of slowly doing chakra integration work. So for me, the experience is quite different. But I think everyone would love to hear your story.
Well, it's actually really interesting that you say that, because I was thinking about it, and there was actually a progression that led up to this. Now that I look back, it was just that night when I actually released all of these and I unleashed the heart star. That was where all of this began. That was the first night that I became aware of the whole implantation system and like the etheric parasites and entities. But I was thinking back on it, and for about maybe 7 or 8 months, every night I would go and do walking meditations. I used to live across the street from a school that was its own separate block, and so I would walk around that school, and I would hold crystals in my hands when I was doing this, and I would just go into a meditative state, and I would start doing energy work. And the Aboriginals, they call it walkabout. I didn't even know there was a term for it until I'd heard about walkabout before, but I just thought they were walking, It turns out that they were falling into a meditative state, and they were following the ley lines on the planet. And I wasn't exactly following the ley lines, but I was doing a form of walkabout meditation. Just really interesting, because I would be moving energy through my body, and I would be feeling it coalescing in spots that I just didn't recognize as the actual chakra centers. And they were there, but they felt completely and totally different. And it was really interesting, because I got into contact with my higher self through these walkabouts. And one night, I just heard something along the lines of, what was it? It's like, you need to release these old systems, or something like that, something along those lines. And it just stuck with me, and I was like, well, how do I do this? And I came across an article. That was the one that stuck in my head that actually got me to start thinking about releasing my chakras. And it was called The Secret of the Chakras. I believe it's on Indigo Children or something. I can't remember the website, but if you look up Secret of the Chakras, you'll find the same exact article that I was reading. And the first time I heard about it, removing your chakras, I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. There's no way that you can remove these energetic centers. You'll die without your energetic centers. And I thought you were completely and totally taking them out. And I didn't realize that what you were doing was integrating them. And so this stuck with me for so long that I had to start thinking about it, because it was just always in the back of my head. It was always, you need to start looking into this. You need to really actually sit down and look at this with an open mind and stop being so egoic about it. And one night I heard you need to release these old systems. And so what I started doing was focusing on each of the colored points in my body and just turning them clear, turning them into, it felt almost like a crystal. And so I started turning these spots into crystals inside my body. So I had 7 clear crystals inside my body. And the more that I was doing these walkabout meditations, sun gazing, yoga, and whatnot, the more I started to feel them actually turn into a golden color. And this is before I even recognized that the gold Christ consciousness energy was as powerful as it was, and it was a one-stop shop for everything that you needed. And so I was seeing this all, for the first time, and not really understanding what was actually happening. And so there was a period for about maybe 3 months, something like that, where I didn't have colored chakras. I had golden lighted crystals inside of my body in each of those points. And that's what led up to all of this to begin with. And it was that one night when I actually did the meditation. And so the actual meditation that I did was I sat in silence, and I was deep breathing and really just sinking into my body and feeling sensation moving around, focusing on different spots inside my body, putting a really hyper laser-like focus into different areas, and just, kind of really exploring my internal universe. And so I knew that I didn't have the actual colors inside the areas to begin with, but what I did is I brought the colors back because they were a clear crystal that I could put any different color that I wanted into at that point in time. And so I was doing meditations where I would take the red, I would take the red from the root chakra and I would turn every single one of these crystals red. And then I would take the orange from the sacral chakra and I would turn every single one of these crystals orange, and so on and so forth, all the way up to the crown until I had every single one of them violet. And then I would focus on each one at a time. And so I would focus on the red in the root, and I would really just sit inside that area, feel the resonance of the color and the vibration of the actual area itself, and just hyper-focus on it and just pay attention to it and be completely and totally present with it. And then once I felt like I understood it completely, I would move up. I would go to the orange, then I'd go to the yellow, and then I would go to the green, then I went to the blue, the indigo, and the violet, all the way up my body. And at the end of all of that, every single one of them was just blazingly active. They were really, really on fire, and I could feel every single one of these very, very clearly. And so then what I did is I overlaid them on a background of really gold light. And how do I explain how this felt? Okay, so when you split apart a beam of sunlight with a prism, you can get every single color from that one golden beam of sunlight. And so this is what the integration is you're returning that aspect of the light back into the gold. And so when I felt everything floating on that golden sea, it was like all of a sudden there was a hole that just appeared inside of all of them on the back, and the color just sucked back into where it came from. And what was left was nothing but this gold light. And my heart space absolutely exploded with energy. I really, looking back on it, I can't explain it because I don't remember how it felt anymore because I've integrated all of this stuff. And but it was just such a massive rush of energy that it literally blew the implant that was in my head, the tape recorder. It blew it out of place, and I could feel it click, and it started sliding back inside my head, and the further and further back it got, the more crazy, distorted, and demonic my actual voice inside my head got, until it was at the point it was like, well, that's curious. My head's doing some really interesting stuff right now. Wait, what's going on here? And it started screaming, and it was getting angry, and I could feel the actual anger and fear from this thing until it was just a flash of insight, oh my God, there's something in my head, and it's not me. I'm not the only one here, and that whole meditation right there of feeling each individual area to the highest ability that you can, hyper-focus, and then integrating it all back in. It was like I took pieces from the whole and put them back inside the hole. And so not like a hole in the ground, but like the wholeness of it. And I just really don't know how to really put that into words. I mean, that's the meditation that I did. And just the way it felt was like I was returning pieces of me to the whole of me. And I was only dealing with the pieces beforehand. It was like, say, for instance, that we have a golden orb. Let's call it the sun. And I've got a sun, and it's about the size of my chest, and I can, feel it, and it's palpable, and it's only about the size of a beach ball. It felt like there were pieces of it that were pulled out and then tied off, and so there was only little nodules that were sticking out, and that's what the colored chakra centers were. And so I released that tied-off point, and it integrated back into the whole, and that's when it was able to really explode forward. And, I mean, it just, the feeling that I felt afterwards, I distinctly remember this. It was like I had something ancient stretching out, like ancient muscles that have been in a coma for billions of years. That's what it felt like, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm finally free. And it was just so profound, so incredibly moving. And then I had all that stuff start happening in my head, and, it took me a while to actually get that out, but I was able to because I was operating on this system right there. And I didn't realize that I had two other stars inside my body because my chest was just so incredibly hot and overactive that I didn't recognize I had one inside my head and I had one inside my lower abdomen. And it was only after I started integrating everything and it started calming down that I recognized that there are legitimate points inside my body that operate on the same exact energy. And that's why we're a three-part system. The heart's the center. It's the balance. It's the fulcrum. I mean, you have one side in the lower abdomen and one side in the head, and it's literally like a balancing act. And the heart space is the key. So that was the one that I activated first. But, I really don't know how to explain it much more beyond that.
That's really inspiring, actually. My own experience of chakra integration has been very incremental. I'm rather slowly integrating my chakras into what, at this now moment, appears to be sort of more of that color integration into the gold spectrum, but with more than 3 points and some lingering color in some places. So let's talk a little bit about. Well, no, let's come back to that. Do you think that the physical meridian system is also evolving? Because during my experience of chakra integration, I've had some indication that this might be the case. Have you thought about that? Do you have any
Well, I've definitely
thoughts?
thought about that. All my meridians are still in the same spot, but the difference is, like, if you have a stream in the forest, there's nothing that is guiding it or containing it. It's meandering along on its own pathway. If you have a high-pressure water system, like a fire hose or something like that, that is much denser, it's much more compact, but there's a lot more energy, there's a lot more water flowing through it. And so my meridians have started reinforcing themselves. It's like the difference between like a creek or an aqueduct. An aqueduct, it's all completely smooth and there's nothing to get caught up on it, and you can flow a lot of water through there incredibly quickly. So that's what I've actually been noticing in my body with that. Are they going to be changing later on from now? Honestly, I can't tell. I can't say. The energy is constantly shifting. The energy is constantly changing, and we have to be aware and we have to shift with it. So what might have worked before, like 2 or 3 days ago, it might not work, and we can still do the same things. It's just that we have to really, roll with it, be like water.
Yeah, really, in every new moment, especially lately, my feeling is that really everything is changing from one moment to the next. And I really just sort of put away the idea of even having a belief system, because things are changing so much that we just have to be open to what's new as it comes in. So let's talk about why it's important to integrate our own chakras as opposed to having it done by a facilitator.
Okay, so like I was just talking about with the reinforcement and the strengthening of the meridian flow, if you don't have that reinforcement if you haven't been doing the work and really flowing energy through your body, you're not going to build it up. It's just like muscles, you have to use it and you have to strengthen it and refine it and focus on it. And if you just try to jump right into this and remove your chakras yourself, nothing's going to happen. But if you have somebody with the ability to do it for you and you aren't ready for it, it's, all of a sudden you've got the Mississippi flowing through a stream and it just kind of blows out and floods everywhere.
That makes perfect sense to me. So do you have a meditation prepared for us, to sort of a visualization meditation to help people sort of begin the journey of integration, and then we'll take some calls?
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful.
All right. So let's just go ahead and take some slow abdominal breaths, really slow down our heart rate, slow down our thought process, and sink into the body, be in the now. Let's just spend about 30 seconds doing this. Now, we understand the consciousness in this body as being inside the head. I want you to focus inside your head and really feel you, your personality, your consciousness, who you are. And you reinforce it. Make it stronger. With your eyes closed, really start feeling from the inside of your head. We're really used to this because when we open our eyes, we see directly from this area. What I want you to do is drop this consciousness down through your body and take that awareness with you. So when you start going through your neck, visualize like you're seeing through your neck, like you're seeing from the chest, as you follow this consciousness down through the stomach. And your awareness is going to be dropping all the way down, right into the root area, right inside the pelvis. And let's sit here for a little bit. Really just focus on having this consciousness right inside the pelvis. And like if you were to open your eyes, you would see from right above your legs the world in that direction. Make this stronger. Reinforce it. Start to become aware of the energy centers here. The root is red. Turn this consciousness red. Sink inside this color. Feel the vibration. Feel you. Now let's go ahead and detach from this red and bring the consciousness up into the sacral area, right below the belly button. You feel this consciousness reinforced right here. Like if you were to open your eyes, you'd be looking out from right below your belly button. This area is orange. Really sink into this color. Light it up. Make it bright. Feel the resonance. Feel the vibration. Orange. Strong. Resonant. Now let's detach the consciousness from the orange and start bringing it up right into the solar plexus, right in between where the ribs meet. And the center is yellow. Focus on the consciousness here. Like if you were to open your eyes, you'd be looking from right up below where your ribs meet. Feel it strong. Focus, laser-like. This area is yellow. Turn this color up as bright as you can, as strong as you can. Feel the resonance of yellow. Strong, resonant. Let's detach from the yellow, leaving it there, and bring our consciousness up into our chest. Feel it inside your chest. Feel how your consciousness can feel your shoulders to either side. If you were to open your eyes, you'd be looking right out from between your pecs, right in the sternum. And this area is green. Feel it strong. The resonance of green. Focus. Strengthen. Really feel this vibration. Green. Resonant. Now let's detach the consciousness from the green, leaving it there, and bring it up into our throat, right behind the Adam's apple. Feel your consciousness here. Strengthen it. Focus. As if you were to open your eyes, you'd be looking right out from underneath your chin. This area is blue. Feel the resonance of the color, vibration of the energy center. Focus. Strengthen. Blue. Strong. Resonant. Let's detach our consciousness from this blue energy center, leaving it there. Let's move up to where we're used to, right behind the eyes. Focus right in the center of your head on this indigo spot of energy. Bring the consciousness inward, right to the center, right in this indigo center. Deep, dark blue. Feel the resonance. Feel the vibration. Focus. Indigo. Strong. Resonant. Let's detach our consciousness from this indigo spot, leaving it there, and move it right up to the top of your head. If you were to open your eyes, you'd be seeing your hair right underneath you. Focus the consciousness here. Really coalesce it. Bring it all together. Laser-like focus. This area is violet. Feel the resonance of this color, the vibration of it. Focus. Strong, violet, resonant. Now what we're going to do is stretch out our consciousness. We're going to keep it right here up at the top, but we're going to let this drop down all the way down our spine into the pelvis. So if we were to open our eyes, we'd be seeing from our entire body all at once. From the pelvis, from below the belly button, from the solar plexus, from the chest, from the throat, from the forehead, and from up above. And focus on each one of these colors. We have red in the pelvis, orange below the belly button, yellow in the solar plexus, green in the chest, indigo in the throat, blue in the throat, indigo in the third eye, violet in the crown. Let's sit with these. Focus on them. Make them as bright and as strong as you can. Feel this full color spectrum. Stronger. Focus. Resonant. Now what we're going to do is ignore the body. And we've got these 7 orbs inside of us, all different colors. And this is what we're going to become. This is all our consciousness is. These 7 points of color. Now what we're going to do is stand right in front of the sun. Incredibly bright, incredibly gold. And we're just going to sink these orbs right on top of the sun, almost like they're floating on a sea of gold light. Buoyant, floating, focused. Now what we're going to do is return these colors back to where they came from. We're going to do this by dissolving these colors right directly into the sun. In 3, 2, 1, dissolve. Let's focus on the heart. Feel this turn bright gold. Feel this radiating outward through the body, igniting a sun in your head, igniting a sun below your belly button. Deep breaths. Slowly start to wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers, coming back to the body. Return your consciousness to your head. slowly open your eyes. Big stretch. Deep breath. And there we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We've got quite a few callers lined up, so I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. Inviting the international caller. Hi, you're on the air. What's your name? International caller, area code 111, although I doubt that's really the area code. You're on the air. What's your name? Okay, we're going to put them back on hold and move along to area code 862. You're on the air. What's your name?
Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Do you have a question for us?
When I actually logged on and called in, you were already in the middle of meditating. So I didn't catch the whole thing, but I know I need to do it. Would it have the same healing effect if I did it on my own?
Oh, definitely. You can listen to the archive show and you can get the whole meditation that way, but on your own is the way that you need to do this. Like, I liken this to going to the bathroom. Like, I can tell you what it feels like to have to go. I can tell you what muscles to activate. I can tell you how much it feels better to do it, but I can't do it for you.
Right. Okay.
Definitely have to do this on your own.
With that being said, I have been told that I have healing qualities, but I haven't developed them at this point. But I'm in a situation where I'm trying to heal my family, and some of them are near and some of them are far. While I'm meditating, am I able to do it for them and myself?
Well, you definitely want to ask them if they are open to this, because if somebody is not open to the healing, they won't receive the healing the way that they need to. So definitely what you're going to want to be doing is healing yourself. And when you start healing yourself, you actually start resonating on a level to where people can recognize it. And you can say, look, I can do something for you, and you can take it or leave it, but this is what I'm going to try to do. And what you're going to want to be doing, the actual way that you would go and try to heal somebody, is you would close your eyes and go into your energy body and focus on them in front of you. And then what you would be doing is directing your healing energy towards them. You would be clearing out any type of blockage, any type of stagnancy inside their body, and really trying to integrate anything in, really cleaning out the emotional body, cleaning out the energy body, the auric body, the meridian system, the physical body, and just really start focusing in on that. And, yeah, anybody can heal. It's, there's a lot of people who say that unless you're activated to a specific level of energy attunement, that you can't do any type of distance healing, or you can't do any type of hands-on healing, and you've got to go through certain steps. Those steps are all limitations. If you feel like you can truly do something, try it. What's the worst that's going to happen is that it won't work. It's all about getting yourself stronger and being able to move energy around and really push on reality yourself.
Well, I know definitely I have to definitely develop that, because I work in a place where sometimes the energy becomes so overwhelming, and a lot of the people in this particular area are very sick. And I'm, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and I'm very empathic. And there's times where I literally have to sit and breathe when I realize that it's getting ready to take me over, and I have to really work on, transmuting the energy, because it's overwhelming at times. So I know that I myself am in a position now where I do need to heal myself first. But I'm usually in a situation where I have people around me who need healing.
That's beautiful, Jackie, because really you've hit the nail on the head with that, which is that, we change the world without by first changing the world within. And the truth is that if you simply focus on healing yourself, what you're actually doing is healing for all of humanity. And what will happen as you progress down the path of your own internal work is that you become a lighthouse. And so instead of wasting your energy on trying to heal those around you that you see have such pathology, instead of wasting your energy on trying to force them to heal, maybe before they're ready, when you just shine your light, when you're just the lighthouse, then those who are ready will come to you. They'll say, "What have you got?" And I want some. And at that point, you can have an appropriate exchange with someone, because really and Eric touched on this, we can't heal anyone unless they're involved, because really what's happening is that you're offering energy and healing to someone, and they are utilizing that energy to heal themselves. So it really does begin within. It always does, without exception.
And that's a major struggle when you have to deal with it on a continual basis, because I didn't realize what was going on. To be honest with you, when I started to feel certain things, I really thought it was like menopause coming on. But it wasn't.
You said that you're empathic. One of the best tools that I have ever come across came from Cameron Day when I started looking into all of this. And it's a very, very simple way of telling the energy what to do. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. And that way you can still be empathic and you can feel what's going on, but you aren't feeling it like it's happening to you.
Yeah, because sometimes it'll feel like it would knock me out. I mean, literally. And
next time that you feel that happening, try that. What's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, and pull everything of you back into you and give everything back that came into you that wasn't yours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really powerful tool. Jackie, thank you so much for your call. Really great question.
I definitely have to go back into the archive. It's just I have a son that's struggling right now, and I want to be able to just like play certain meditations in the house when he's not paying attention. Hopefully that subconsciously he'll begin to pay attention, if that makes sense.
Well, when we start feeling healing energy, it's up to us on whether or not we want to accept it. It is a powerful catalyst, but unless that person wants to heal themselves to begin with, it's not going to work. You know, you have to be at a point where you want to heal in order for healing to actually take effect. You know, you can lead a horse to water all you want, but you can't make him drink.
And the other part of that, too, is that sometimes when people are struggling, it's an important experience. Quite often people really have to, for some people it's actually beneficial to experience the heart of darkness and to find the light from that point. And even though it's really painful to watch those that we love suffering, it's also really lovely to be able to step back with the perspective that we can honor their path, including their experiences of struggle, because the experience of struggle is also an opportunity for growth and self-awareness. I mean, really, what we are is the all that is experiencing itself. And some of what we think is a negative experience really ultimately oftentimes turns out to be a beautiful opportunity for growth. And just shine your light, Jackie, and it really does make a huge difference.
Right, and sometimes I have to recognize that it's light and it's not dark, and that's my challenge as well. So, but thank you.
And I love
there is a lot of darkness on this planet. You know, there's no denying that. There is a lot of darkness on this planet. The whole thing is that a lot of us came here to transmute this darkness, and the way we do that is just by turning on the light inside. And there's no amount of darkness that can diminish any small amount of light if you keep it going. But the opposite is completely and totally true. No matter how dark it is, one tiny little light will illuminate it.
Did you ever go personally? Did you ever go through challenges where as much as you was trying to be the light or you were trying to do the right things that you were constantly being attacked?
Oh, yeah.
Did it bother you?
That's the work that we deal with.
Did it bother you? Did it, like, really, really hurt?
Well, there's
yes,
systems
Jackie,
on this planet that, it completely and totally tries to get us to shut the light down. And, it's all energetic attacks. It really, truly is. And that's the work that we've been doing, is we've been illuminating these systems and showing people how to get rid of them and that light going.
In fact, Jackie, I would strongly recommend that you check out Eric's website, which is unleashingnaturalhumanity.com. And there's a lot of information there that sort of explains that parasitic construct and what has been going on. And next week's show actually will be all about the parasitic construct. But there's a wealth of information on that website.
Because it does feel like they're parasitic.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what he's going through. He's just too young to recognize it. And I have to accept, like you said, the experience will help you to grow, because I'm just coming into my own. So I have to tell my husband all the time, you can't expect him to know everything and be able to respond appropriately if you're just waking up. And you know?
Yeah.
And recognizing the attachments with yourself and getting those removed actually really does have an effect on your family as well.
Right, I believe that because, again, like I mentioned, I go into an environment that is very dark. I mean, sometimes I have to force myself to get out the car to go into my job. Even the neighborhood is dark, and there's a lot of people doing things down there that I see, and I believe there's times that those things actually attach themselves to me because I'm so empathic. And when I come home and I'm trying to ground or I'm trying to release and let go, it's so strong it remains in my environment.
You know, Jackie, I would be more than... Oh, sorry,
one of my
ahead.
other sons, as soon as he enters the house, I could tell the type of day that he had because it just jumps off of him.
You definitely...
A bunch of empathic
You're definitely
people.
empathic. Yeah.
I believe, I live in a house of empathic people.
So I'm going to encourage you to check out the website and then feel free to contact either Eric or myself if you'd like to talk about this further. I'm always open to talking with people about the parasitic construct and sort of talking about that work that we do. So you can find me on Facebook. You can just look me up. I'm Beth Ann Carr. And if you look at, you can contact Eric the same way on Facebook or through his website. Really fantastic question tonight, Jackie. I'm going to go ahead and move on to another caller.
Again.
It's unleashingnaturalhumanity.com.
Unleashing
Natural Humanity.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Right. Thank you, Jackie.
Could I remain on the phone?
Of course, yes. I'm just going to mute you and move on to another caller. Moving on to the international caller now. We're going to try that again. Hi, you're on the air. What's your name? I have a feeling that this is Aubrey, but she's having trouble getting through. Aubrey, can you hear us? You're on the air. Okay, we're going to put her back on hold. And it looks like a couple of our callers have hung up here. So if to try calling back, we've got about 20 minutes left in the show, and we'd love to answer questions. Eric, why don't you go ahead, fill some airspace here with some chatting. By the way, I love your term, the golden energy being a one-stop shop, because that really is true. It really is. And I'd like to, I'm level 5 Reiki attuned, and as much as I love Reiki energy, the golden energy really is the one-stop shop, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Protection, healing, Transmutation, it's whatever you need. You don't, like, there's a whole bunch of different protocols out there for, like, violet light, blue light, all kinds of different things. This includes everything. Like, if you take, like I was saying earlier in the show, if you take a prism and you separate a beam of light with it, you can see every single color inside of it. So this is the whole integration, plus the Christ consciousness energy that you can actually use. It's very, very powerful, and you don't really need to focus on different things. So if you're going after healing, you don't have to focus on a specific color. If you're going after protection, you don't have to go and focus on a specific color. This is all that you need right here. It's got everything inside of it, and, sometimes there's more needed. Sometimes you have to protect and heal at the same time, and, it's kind of hard to split your attention onto two different colors like that. So, I mean, it's everything in there. That's all you need.
So let's talk a little bit while we're waiting for some people to call back in, and I might try this international caller here in just a minute, but let's give people maybe just a few really basic, just a little bit of basic guidance on how to begin to move energy for the purpose of healing, from the perspective of, someone just getting started.
Well, let's start with healing yourself. The breath is key. You want to be breathing through your abdomen. You don't want to be breathing through your chest. And a simple way to find out if you're chest breathing is to put one hand on your abdomen and one hand on your chest and take a simple, deep, relaxed breath in without really trying to concentrate on it. And you'll notice that if your chest moves more, that you're more often than not, you're breathing through your chest. And like if you take any child all the way up to about maybe 4 or 5 years old, that's when we start getting out of this, and lay them flat on their back and watch them breathe, you'll see their stomach moving up and down. And we're always talking about how much energy kids have, and this is one of the major reasons why kids can go bouncing off of the walls for hours on end, and we can do it for about like 15 minutes and we're done, And so it's all about the breath. And so what you want to start doing is really focusing on extending your abdomen out with each breath that you take and moving the chest as little as possible. And on a physiological aspect right there, what you're doing is you're compressing your abdomen and letting it expand like a blacksmith bellows, blowing air onto the coals. And so what's happening there physiologically is you're actually letting the tension go inside your organs, and you're letting new stuff flow in and old stuff flow out. And that right there by itself is absolutely powerful. Not only does it start rejuvenating your organs and bringing them back into health, it hooks directly into the autonomic nervous system, and it calms you down almost immediately. I don't care how frazzled, how nervous, how anxious you are, 4 or 5 minutes of doing this type of breathing right here will really start just hooking you into your body and calming it down, and then the consciousness can actually direct your body what you want it to do. So say you've got a panic attack or something going on like that and your heart's racing a mile a minute, you start focusing on this with deep, relaxed, slow breathing, and you'll actually start to calm yourself down. The heart rate will slow, the neural firing inside your brain, that'll start to slow, and you'll really be able to take control of your body back from stuff like that. Utilizing this energy right here. So this is an ancient breathing technique right here. The ancient Chinese knew all kinds of wonderful stuff that we really don't even pay attention to in our Western world here. And what they understood is that the world on a microscopic level is completely and totally hollow. Like if we look into the atom, we will recognize, it's made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. But on a scale, like if you were to blow up an atom to the size of a football stadium, every single piece inside of it would be only about the size of a quarter or a dime. Everything else is completely and totally empty. And so we can take that progression even lower. Those protons, neutrons, and electrons are all made up, and our technology hasn't progressed enough to the point to where we can see what makes up quarks. But there is a base to everything. All this physical matter, all it is energy. It's all crystallized energy. And they recognize that we have an eternal vital life force essence, or the soul, the consciousness, the personality that's talking through this phone right now to all of you guys. This is my vital life force essence. This is the thing that is guiding my body and moving it around, and it's eternal. It doesn't need any more energy, but the body itself is made up of crystallized energy, and it does need influx of energy in order to survive. And if we're looking at this crystallized energetic construct around us, we recognize that we have to eat food, we have to drink water, and we have to breathe air. And those are all forms of energy. And of the three, the most powerful is the air, and we could go, 30, 40 days without food. We can go 3-4 days without water. We can only go 3 or 4 minutes without air. We have to be connected into this energy constantly, otherwise the body literally starts to die. And so when you're utilizing this abdominal breathing, what we want to do is really focus on breathing in energy, not just oxygen. It's not just atoms and gas that's going into our lungs, into the meat sacks. That's not it at all. It's energy that we're actually breathing in. And so you can breathe this energy to any part of your body that you want. You can literally focus on it and say, well, I want to breathe into my right pointer finger because I broke it. And you can start breathing this oxygen in, and what you'll feel is the actual energy itself. You'll feel it flow in through your mouth, through your nose, down your neck, right into the arm, and you'll just take a deep breath in and focus that energy right into the pointer finger. Say, for instance, that your liver is starting to fail on you and it's real toxic. You can breathe directly into the organ itself. And this healing energy, I visualize it as gold light, like I'm breathing in a river of golden liquid. And it flows right to the area that I point it to. And sometimes we have blockages inside of our bodies that don't allow this type of flow, and that's the meridian blockages that I was talking about earlier. And what we can do is just keep breathing through it until eventually that life force essence gets to the point that we're trying to breathe into, and that's a major, major player in actually unblocking the energy inside your body. So if you can't feel it flow down there, you want to find where it's at, where it gets stuck, and you just want to keep breathing through it. And it's literally like a stream that starts breaking through a dirt levee or something like that. It starts off as a little tiny trickle, but the more that goes through, the more erodes out, and eventually it's got a free flow going on. And you can do this anywhere inside your body. As for healing other people, a little bit different. The energy can flow wherever you want it to. It's not just limited to your body. You can flow this anywhere. And one of the major ways that I do it is through my arms and through my hands. And so I'll flow this energy down my arms, and when I'm focusing on somebody during a session, I'll literally have their energy body right in front of me so that I can work on it, like literally place my hands on top of it. And you want to flow the energy out and focus on the areas inside of people that are blocked. And you want to breathe through those areas and really flow everything through. And it's just like healing your body, except that you're doing it outside. It's really a simple transition once you recognize that we are all crystallized energy and we can flow anywhere that we want to.
Fantastic stuff. Brilliant information there. Okay, let's go ahead and try to take another international caller. Hi, caller, you're on the air. What's your name? Hi, you're on the air. Oh, we're having some technical difficulties. Hold on. Let's try one more. Hi, you're on the air. What's your name? Okay, so we're having trouble taking callers, but we do have a question from the chat room from I'm so sorry if I totally butcher your name. This question is from Akanksha Sharma in India, and they are asking, they're saying that they're looking for a job shift, and they're not sure if there is a blockage in their chakra, and they'd like some advice on potentially what energy center they should work on in the context of looking for a job shift. Do you have anything to answer to that, Eric?
Well, honestly, I don't think jobs or anything like that have anything to do with blockages inside of the body. What I think those are completely and totally wrapped around it are blockages inside of the mental way that you look on life. One of the major things that got me to shift in my aspect of healing was I asked myself, what would I do if money didn't exist? And that right there is huge. There's huge connotations to all of this, because if all of a sudden you didn't have to work a 9 to 5 to pay your bills, to have a roof over your head, to have food in your belly, what would you focus on? You know, it would be things that you're truly passionate about, things that you really want to do. You wouldn't have to go to work and do stuff because, I mean, you know, even just the thought of going to work, it's something that a lot of us really don't like to do. What you want to start looking at is what are you passionate about? What would you spend your life doing if you had all of your finances taken care of for you? And you didn't have to pay anything, you know, and what would you actually start focusing on at that point in time? You know, some people are artists, some people love to make music, some people love to heal. Like I'm personally, that was the major thing that got me into it is I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people's pain get diminished. I wanted to help them really start finding who they are, to awaken their own internal master and become their own guru instead of having to, you know, look around at other people and try to emulate them. That's one of the major things that got me to shift right there, and it's a very, very simple question, but the thought processes that end up going behind it, I mean, you have to truly find out what you're passionate about after that once you start looking into this, you know, and it's that question right there, it's once you start recognizing what you truly want to do, that's what you have to start going after and doing. So, I mean, even if you don't have the opportunity to just up and quit your job and go find something that you're interested in, start doing it as a hobby. Really integrate it into your life. Start focusing your energy on it, and it'll naturally just all of a sudden occur to where you can support yourself with it. And that's one of the major things that I really, really highly advocate right there, because I really don't think there's a blockage with that. I don't think it's something to do with like there's a spot inside your body that's stuck and energy won't flow through. I think it's all about the internal work. It's all about stepping up to the plate and releasing the fear and going for it. You know, that's what it's all about. And that right there, you know, there might be some things that, say a blockage in the solar plexus or a parasite in the solar plexus that'll hammer you with like self-doubt, that'll get you with body image issues, self-confidence issues, things along those lines. But at the bottom end of it, you know, what you have to do is just really step through it. And if you don't go and clear that out and find where that blockage is, you can still get past those. You can step up to things that you normally wouldn't do. You know, if you're terrified of public speaking, you know, go up and talk in front of people. You know, start small. Start with 3 or 4 people. You know, move it up higher and higher, and eventually that fear won't be getting after you anymore. And you can do this with any type of fear that you have. Is put yourself in that situation, take a deep breath, and start speaking. Even if your voice shakes, you know, you just got to get up and do it. And you know, I really don't think it's got anything to do with the blockage. I think it's got everything to do with not accepting that we are truly limitless beings and we can do whatever we want. We can support ourselves truly and comfortably and abundantly by following it and letting go of the fear.
Yeah, and I think we're probably gonna touch on this concept a little bit more next week, because I think that what's gonna, you know, as the light energy and vibration increases on this planet, we're going to find more and more people that are talking about things like this, because in reality, none of us should be working terrible jobs just to make money. And it's becoming increasingly more intolerable to have to do that, basically. And we're going to have to start moving towards exactly what you've just talked about, which is using our energy and our, you know, really our energy and our creativity is our currency. And when we start cashing in on that currency in the context of what our purpose and our passion is, then that translates into work that feels good. I mean, really, it's that simple. It really boils down to doing work that aligns with your highest purpose. So I think we probably will cover quite a bit of that next week when we talk about the parasitic construct. Let's go ahead and take another caller here. Area code 347, you are on the air. What's your name? Hi.
Hi, my name is Tanika.
Hi, Tanika.
Hi.
Do you have a question for us?
I just actually tuned in. I wasn't really sure what the subject matter was. What kind of questions can I ask?
Okay, so tonight we're talking about the energy body, basically, and I realize some people are calling in just to listen. So I'm realizing now that maybe if I take a caller, they're really just trying to listen. So if that's what you're doing, that's totally fine. But what we're talking about tonight is the energy body, basically, talking about the meridians and how to transmit energy for healing. We've covered the natural, organic evolution of the chakra system from the 7 colors into an integration of more of a gold color in 3 Dantian points. So if you don't have a question, that's totally fine. I can put you off air, and you can continue to listen. Or if you have a question, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep listening.
Okay. Thank you, Tanika. Let's try this international caller again. Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name? Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just move on. We've got about 4 minutes left, Eric. Is there anything that you'd like to say in closing here before we sign off?
Definitely. There's a lot of people who can't connect in with energy. Really what you have to start doing is putting the intention into your body. The body has a bunch of amazing systems inside of it that operate naturally, and if we aren't paying attention to them, they're still working. So if you want to really start connecting into your energy body, what you have to do is just focus internally. One of the best things that I actually found when I was a kid came from the Dune series by Frank Herbert, and it was just a little kind of a blurb on one of the things that they were doing for training, and it was a hyper-focus meditation. And what Paul Atreides would do, he would actually focus on individual, very specific spots in the body. Like he would keep his body completely and totally still and move just like a tiny little muscle on the back of his finger. Or he would take his focus and hyper-focus on like the fingernails. Those right there's a bunch of meridian endings inside the fingers, and there's a lot of nerve endings in the fingers as well. And by putting your focus directly into that area, you can actually start to feel it to the point where you can feel the blood rushing through the fingertips, where you can feel the pressure from the blood pressure underneath them, and you can really start honing in on the sensations inside your body. You can do this anywhere. Like I was talking about with the meditation earlier tonight, the hyper-focus where you take your consciousness and you place it directly inside those energy centers and you feel the resonance completely and totally. You can do that anywhere. And just by focusing, like say for instance, taking your consciousness and putting it into your foot. And the way I picture it, my consciousness is a ball about the size of my head, but you can expand it out and you can hone it down almost to like a pinprick, but it's incredibly focused. It's incredibly powerfully there, present. And, that's one of the most powerful things that you can actually start to do is move your consciousness through your body, because then your body is going to recognize, it's like, oh my goodness, it's actually paying attention to me. I'm not just sitting here trying to give information and not having it be listened to, I'm going to start giving more information. I'm going to start honing these pathways that allow you to feel this information a lot more clearly. That right there is definitely one of the most powerful things that you can really do to start connecting into your body, by just breathing into it, being present with it, and focusing on it.
Really fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to go over some of the resources that we've covered in tonight's show. So you mentioned something called Hara balancing. Is that spelled H-A-R-A? Hara?
Yes.
Balancing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also mentioned an article in the context of chakra integration called The Secret of the Chakras. And I'd also like to just once again reiterate Eric's website, which is unleashingnaturalhumanity.com. And there's also a Facebook page by the same name. And Again, next week's show will be all about the parasitic construct, which is really the focus of the majority of the work that Eric and I are doing with the parasite and implant removals. And anyone is more than welcome to contact me as well on Facebook through Facebook Messenger. And my name is Beth Ann Carr, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.